This is WDXE, W287AA, and W237FD Lawrenceburg. Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.
Kill a child? You should be killed. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what a prosecutor in Texas says in the case against two men in the U.S. illegally charged with murdering a 12-year-old girl. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg just told Fox she plans to seek the death penalty.
We want the message out there that regardless of who you are, but especially if you are illegally in this country, that you will face the same consequences as anyone else.
Franklin Pena and Johan Martinez Rangel are from Venezuela and are accused of kidnapping Jocelyn Nungary, sexually assaulting the girl, killing her, and leaving her body under a bridge back in June. The incoming Trump border czar, who will oversee mass deportations of immigrants here illegally, faces resistance from many Democrats. But not in New York City, where Tom Holman tells Fox he had a good meeting with Mayor Eric Adams.
He has promised to work with us to target violent, criminal, illegal aliens in this city and to help us find over 300,000 missing children that this administration released to unvetted sponsors.
Some officials in New Jersey want a state of emergency declared over mysterious drones flying overhead for weeks, and now people are reporting drones spotted from California to Florida to Connecticut.
The FBI and DHS say a lot of the sightings are actually of manned aircraft. Still, the gaps and lack of explanation to back up the government's assertion that there is no malicious intent is frustrating several lawmakers.
Fox's Madeline Rivera at the White House, where officials maintain there's no threat to public safety. President Biden will have a virtual call this hour with other world leaders of G7 countries, the morning after the U.S. provided Ukraine another $500 million of military aid that was followed by a Russian and missile and drone and barrage attack on Ukraine.
President-elect Trump has pledged to end the war in Ukraine and has appointed Keith Kellogg as a special envoy to deal with bringing the war to a close. The G7 meeting is the first since the fall of Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad's regime, bringing uncertainty to the future of the nation.
Fox's Ryan Schmel, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken now in Iraq for talks about Syria. America's listening to Fox News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The same day President Biden pardoned 39 people for nonviolent crimes and commuted the sentences of about 1,500 others. A guilty plea related to the impeachment inquiry House Republicans have conducted probing Biden family overseas business dealings. It's a federal case against an ex-FBI informant.
Alexander Smirnov will enter a guilty plea for his claims that Hunter Biden and his father, then Vice President Biden, accepted bribes from Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company. Smirnov's sentence could range from 2 to 6 years in prison. Smirnov claimed Biden and his son each got $5 million in 2015, prompting a House GOP-led impeachment inquiry. Prosecutors say Smirnov did have dealings with Burisma, but after the Obama-Biden administration ended. The charges Smirnov will face are tax evasion and causing a false FBI record. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Prosecutors in New York City are giving a grand jury evidence as they keep building a murder case against Luigi Mangione, who's still jailed in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested Monday, suspected of killing United Healthcare's CEO. His motive is part of the investigation, including writings Mangione left behind, angry over the health insurance industry. And somebody in Florida is upset, too, and also now in trouble.
Police say it was a denied claim that prompted 42-year-old Brianna Boston to threaten Blue Cross Blue Shield with the phrase delay, deny, depose, which the killer wrote on the casings of the bullets used to kill United Healthcare's Brian Thompson. Cops say Boston also told the insurance company rep, "You people are next." She's now charged with making threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are rising the day after selling. On Thursday Night Football, the Los Angeles Rams won a field goal battle, beating San Francisco 12-6. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Lawrence County depends on WDXE News, on the air since 1951. This is The Legend. 105.3, 95.3, WDXE.
And here we are. We've made it all the way around the week, then back to Friday, and my friend Stan Pierchoski is in here with Pierchoski Estate Law. How are you, my friend?
I am doing wonderful, Jeff. How about you?
My goodness gracious, the weeks are clicking off fast.
They are.
Toward Christmas.
They are. They are. It has snuck up on me again.
Again.
This is probably about the 37th one that has snuck up on me.
How does that happen every year?
I don't know. It's a phenomenon of nature. It really is.
It is.
Just like New Year's will come, right? And then the next thing you know, we'll be saying, oh my gosh, it's mid-March already.
Yeah.
I mean, January and February are like, I don't know. They're like non-existent months. I don't understand.
You know, it's been
it just disappears.
Oh, God, I know. And I'm thinking every year. I think, well, I'm going to really slow down, take a break, and I seem to get more busy.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe you ought to say, I'm going to try to get busier.
Yeah, maybe.
And see if you can get the.
I don't mind being busy.
Yeah, no.
I don't mind being. In fact, excuse me, I like being busy, but.
Yeah. Me too.
But you think you're going to take a break, and Teresa says how much time you're going to take off, for the holidays, and I'm like, I almost never take off.
I'm not going to be able to squeeze any time in there, dear.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Don't have any time to take off.
Oh, so. I know, right there with you.
But I must like it, and I seem to add to it.
Well, and that's like my practice is like, it just seems to, no matter what I do, it just seems to ramp up.
Yeah.
If it's not ramping up in what we do, it ramps up in additional areas of what we do. It's
all the
time. So,
yeah.
But that's good. I mean, it's a good problem to have. I've often felt like this estate planning that I do fills a real niche that's needed.
Sure.
And the more I got into it, found out that there's not a shortage of estate planning attorneys, but there is a shortage of estate planning attorneys that do half the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
So. And there's a need. There's a need. There's a lot of people that just don't understand. And I don't say that to be, insinuate anything other than the knowledge isn't out there. They want to understand. They try to understand, and they can't find the information anywhere.
Yeah.
They're just thirsty for it, and they can't get it. You try to go to the officials, and they say, well, I can't give you legal advice, which is always pulling that card.
Yeah.
You go on the internet, which. Just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. And that's probably more often than not, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
And so you get yourself polluted with all these different approaches and concepts and opinions, and you just don't know what to think. So I like to think, when we have these radio shows, it's for that very reason, to help clear things up with people,
right.
Help let them know that what the straight scoop is out there on these things. Now, some of it's not the best news in the world, but it's. We talk about 10 care and stuff like that. It's not always the best news in the world, but it's the correct thing to do. So there's certain things we have to do to protect our property, and certain things sometimes property can't be protected or can't be protected as much as we want it to be. But that's the whole point of these things is education, and I hope it helps. Speaking of education, I might want to mention that I had the next, the holidays are coming up. We just said that as we came on today. It's sneaking up on us fast. Well, what also sneaks up on you fast is right after the holidays when I'm going to have my next seminar. I'm not going to stick it during the holidays because people have got probably 3 things planned every day from now until after New Year's, right? I mean, the wife's got places to go. You got a party here, or a get-together there, or a stop off here and go to see the Christmas parade. I mean, it's a very busy time. So we don't like to invade that because myself and my staff like to participate in holiday events as well. So the next seminar we're putting it out till January the 25th. That's pretty well after the holidays. Everybody should be recovering, kind of settling back into the groove, right? So it's January the 25th, which is a Saturday.
Yes.
And that's Saturdays we do them at 10 o'clock in the morning. We call it Will's Trust in the Nursing Home. And we're going to do it right here at WLX radio station in the back at the Country Cafe. So, it's not too early to RSVP for that.
Sure.
Already got
absolutely.
some. I like doing them here. I like doing them in Pulaski. I like doing them in places where we have a big venue.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to worry about running out of places.
Sure.
We did it at the American Legion a while back, and it was a great venue, but it only holds so many.
Right.
We do it up in Franklin in a spot, at a venue, and that's a really nice place too, but it only holds so many, you know.
Right.
But these two places are very large. And although once or twice I was pushing capacity over here, but typically we have plenty of room. So if you want to RSVP, it's not too early to do that. We've already got a list going. So call my office.
Very good.
You know, to do that. And I'll bring that up again at the end of the show. So.
Yeah. That phone number is?
It's 931-363-7222.
Had it right.
So, yeah.
Had it right. Hey, our buddy's calling already this morning. Ed, good morning. How are you?
Fine. I wanted to throw out a couple of things.
Good.
It seems like during COVID, there was a house on the market here, and the person died. And I was told that the problem was, now it wasn't the attorney who died here of COVID, but that the attorney, who obviously was the executor, was my interpretation, was incapacitated. He was too sick to handle it, and that was what was holding up settling the estate and selling the property. Okay, I wanted to know if that was, not necessarily that case was true, but if it was true, how would you prevent it? And the second thing has to do with Westlaw. He mentioned Nexus, Lexus, and Westlaw. And I was curious, I know that the information, if it's law or code, is in the public domain, but I think it's copyrighted by Reuters or something related to Reuters. And lawyers have access, but since it's public domain, can individuals go to a law library? Like I went to Vanderbilt at one time to do the medical databases to do some things. And if he'd cover things like that, I would be interested.
Okay, doke. Sounds good. Thank you. Well, she's always got some interesting question or twist on things.
Well, now the first one, I don't know the case, but, you know, if you have somebody that's appointed, I think I can cut to the chase on it.
Yeah.
If you have somebody that's appointed executor, and if you're an executor, it's a probate action.
Yes.
You know, if you get the terminology right, you can tell what's going on.
Right.
Because a will has to be executed, therefore you have an executor. So if you have an executor, and they have certain duties, you know, they are controlling the estate and distributing the property and that sort of thing.
Right.
But if that person becomes incapacitated, just like any other fiduciary duty, you know, if you're an agent under power of attorney and you become incapacitated, or if you're a trustee of a trust or a successor trustee of a trust and you become incapacitated, there's usually always some scheme to have somebody else in line. You know, so that person is discharged, they are removed as the fiduciary, as the executor, and usually there's somebody else named. Now, in this case, it's executor, so the will would have appointed that person.
Yes.
Now, the court makes them the executor, but the person puts in their will who they want to have.
Yes.
It is very common. As a matter of fact, if somebody brought a will to me that only named one executor, I would bring to their attention, can we come up with another name just in case, right?
Yeah.
So, my will would say something like, if I'm first to pass away, my wife is my executor.
Uh-huh.
If she's unable or unwilling to perform, is the language I use.
Right.
Then it's my oldest child.
Yes.
If she's unable or unwilling to perform, then it's my oldest son. And
Yeah.
so now you have this hierarchy that is kind of a consecutive order.
Right.
If one fails, and the language unable or unwilling to perform encompasses several things. It encompasses death.
Mm-hmm.
It encompasses incapacity, like we're talking about. Or, somebody could have moved to Switzerland and just physically can't do it.
Right.
Or they just don't want the job. I mean, you cannot make someone be a fiduciary. So if you name somebody and don't really ask them if they do it for you,
Right.
and they say, look, man, I don't want the finance, I don't want the responsibility. You can't make them do it just because you name them. So that fails, and then it goes to the next one on the list.
Right.
So in this case, if there was somebody, the incapacity of the executor would trigger that, and the next one would the court would put the next one in its place.
Interesting.
And
now, does it take a court action to put the next one in place?
In a will, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, in trust, it's self-exacting, although it does require. I would put in there because incapacity is a mental call. I mean, a medical call, right? I'm not a doctor, okay, and mostly people that are successor trustees are not either. So it's a medical call. So I put in my trust. It takes one doctor's opinion that the person is incapacitated and cannot make legal decisions.
Okay.
And if that's the triggering event for the other one to take over.
I got you.
So, but if in the case of not having somebody next on the list, especially executorship, then if what would happen is the beneficiaries or the people that are with the case that realize the person's incapacitated can bring it to the court's attention, and the court will put somebody else there. They will fill that vacancy, even though there's not one there. Now, whether you like, here's the age-old problem we try to solve is we don't know who the court is going to put there. So maybe it's better if we have the instrument says a couple choices that we have rather than let the court pick. Because the court will probably pick an attorney or a special master or somebody that will be very expensive to that estate. And so
wow.
So it's built in. It's anticipated. Those are the what ifs. I mean, and here's the point I'm trying to make is any fiduciary setup. So the ones that come to mind are executorship of a will, power of attorney, agents under power of attorney, healthcare or financial, the successor trustee of a trust. Anything that has something like that is always a very good idea to go into what if mode and say, okay, I'm naming this person as number one. What if something happens and they can't perform? I want to name at least one more. I mean, at the very least, another one. Third one,
very interesting.
Because you don't want to run out. Because if you run out, off you go to court. When you do a trust, the whole reason of a trust is to avoid court. And you don't want to have to do that. So, good question. I don't know about the particular case or what happened. But there should be plenty of safeguards in there. Now, what was the second one? Oh, Westlaw.
Yes.
Westlaw and LexisNexis, and there's a couple of them. There's Fast Case, and there's I can't remember. There are subscriptions you can buy. Now, I can't be sure because if I ever had it, I had it as an attorney or a law student.
Right.
And I don't think it's just for lawyers. I mean, you have to buy it. I don't know if you have to. I don't think it's guarded that well. However, there are several other subscriptions, or free, no charge on the internet where you can find if you know what you're looking for.
Yes.
You can find it. Now, the reason an attorney buys I've had them both. I'm not going to apply to one or the other. Both of them have their pros and cons. But when you have a legal subscription like Westlaw or LexisNexis, its value is this: you can search.
Yeah.
When I was doing criminal, I had that when I was doing criminal defense work. And let's just say you got a client, they got pulled over, and the police opened and searched the trunk of the car and found something, right? So you want to say, I wonder if this search is valid, because in order to do that, certain things have to take place, right?
Right.
And so you can type in keywords like automobile, traffic stop, automobile, trunk, search, probable cause, stuff like that, and you'll get cases that match those keywords. And so you can look through there and start looking for a case that has similar facts to one you're trying to research.
Right.
You can hone it down, and you usually find something that will be helpful to your case. So you can search. You've heard me complain about the fact that I cannot do that with TennCare fair hearings.
Yes.
They're not available to me. I mean, there's language that says it's supposed to be available to me, and if it's available to me, I got to pay tens of thousands of dollars to have it, because I can't do the search. I got to pay the state of Tennessee to do the search.
Right.
And they make it so expensive, it's just, in my opinion, it's not available. Being available at an exorbitant cost is not really available.
That is true.
Because the law always requires something to be reasonably available. But I'm not sure you have to be an attorney to subscribe to them. You just have to pay for it.
Yeah.
It can be pretty costly.
Yeah.
It can be pretty costly. They're pretty proud of the service. Now, there's another one called, I can't think of it. It's like a woman's name.
Not familiar.
It's like Amy Law or anyway, I can't. Maybe it will come to me. But if you just search legal research tools or legal research services, you'll come up with some. I know there's one that the Tennessee Bar Association has. It's called Case Law, Fast Case.
Fast Case.
Yeah, and and some are better than others. Some are good, some are bad. And there's some that are relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
And when they're inexpensive, your search is maybe a little more not as defined. Or you can get ones that you can get jurisdiction, all jurisdictions, all 50 states, all the federal, stuff like that, Supreme Court. You don't really need all 50 states, depending on what you're doing.
Sure.
So they have Tennessee packages where you can buy it and you just get Tennessee law, and that includes the our appellate courts and our Supreme Court, stuff like that.
Wow. To back up and punt here just a minute on you mentioned not being able to search in the area where you practice. That seems like that should be corrected. I don't know what steps would be taken or could be taken, but that seems like that ought to be corrected.
Well, it's one of those things that I keep saying, If I ever find the time, I'm going to do just that, okay? And I think I have a plan. I think my first step would be to approach my legislatures, which I've got a good relationship with with Clay Doggett and Joy Hensley, and ask for a state attorney general's opinion of the statute that says the decisions and fair hearings should be are available to the public.
Yeah.
Now, if I approach it as a person from the public, they should be available to me.
Right.
Now, here's the problem. If you say, could I please see the decision that was rendered December the 7th, 2014, in the case of TennCare versus John Doe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll pull it up and hand it to you. So, yeah, that's available. But, if you know the case, that's very rare. That's nobody... Yeah. I mean, if you know the case, then you probably know what the answer was. But I'm just saying, if you know exactly what it was, you can go straight to it. Right. What I'm looking for is something where I can search, like, let's say, we do this asset protection trust. And, there was a while back when I was concerned whether it was a good thing or a bad thing for the maker of the trust to also be the trustee. Because I wanted to know how TennCare treated that.
Yeah.
Now, I know how the law treats it, but I didn't know how TennCare treated it. No. And so I wanted to research that. And that's what I want to do. I want to research cases where people had an asset protection trust where the maker of the trust was also the trustee, and then they ended up having to apply for benefits. And now TennCare is involved. And if they ever got denied for that and it went to a fair hearing, then I would hear what the judge's decision was on that issue. And that's what I wanted to research.
Right.
And I can't. They say, well, which case do you want? I said, I don't know. I want to look for one.
You want to look for that criteria.
And there's no way for me to do the search. And they say, well, we can do the search for you. And they did. I gave them keywords. Yep. They made the search. They said, well, we came up with 8,000 hits. Now, I can't see them. Now, when you search, anybody that's searched anything, it kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
You do that, you get 8,000 hits. And you say, okay, you start looking at a few of them and say, okay, I see what's happening here. This is including any trust, okay? I want to fine-tune this search and call it specifically the income-only trust or the asset protection trust, okay?
Right.
Then now you refine that search. Now you come back with 3,000 hits, okay? Mm-hmm. So you look at what you're pulling, what's coming up, and you say, okay, I see where the computer's going off on a direction I really don't want it to. I'm not concerned with this kind of thing. So you want to keep refining the search, and you get it down to maybe 100 or something. Now you got something to sink your teeth into and start reading through, getting the feel for how those decisions went. That's what I want. That was what I want, and that's what I can get anywhere else. And that is what other states have under their Medicaid version.
Huh.
Not all states, but many of them have the ability to do that. Okay, but if I want to do that, I have to go to, I can't remember the name of the organization, but Tennessee Records, Public Records or something. And I have to tell them the search terms, and I did this one time, and they came back with 10,000 hits. Now, I can't, it's hard for me to refine the search because I don't know exactly what came out of that search I gave them.
Right. And
so they said, we'll send these to you, but, we have to copy them. And then we have to go through each and every one of them and redact them because we can't have a person's information in it. Okay. And, of course, we have to pay the individuals that are redacting it an hourly fee. And they come back, and the cost of doing that was over $100,000.
Yeah.
They said, you can have all these records, but you got to pay us $116,000 and some change.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's like, now, my question is this. Is that what you mean when the Federal Code of Federal Regulation says that the decisions of fair hearings are available to the public? Now, is that what I would call available?
Yeah.
I mean, you could say, well, yeah, but maybe not. It's not available to the public unless you can pay for it.
Yeah.
Or pay a reasonable fee for it. That's not reasonable. That's a way, if you were, let's say if you're a merchant or something, let's say I'm an attorney, let's say I don't want to do divorce work.
Sure.
And so I figure out what people charge for divorce work, and I make my fee 10 times that.
Yeah.
Say, you can hire a divorce attorney for $5,000. Well, I make my fee $50,000. Okay. I do that because I don't want the cases, right? I just price it right out. It's totally unreasonable. Yeah. I don't want it. So I'm making it so nobody will ever hire me for divorce, so I get what I want because nobody would ever pay that much. It's unreasonable. Right. It's unreasonable.
Right.
It's the same concept here. It's almost like they're making it unavailable by making it unreasonably costly
Yeah.
when it's required to be. Now, my problem is I want to ask the legislatures to seek an attorney general's opinion as to can you circumvent federal law? I mean, I don't know how you get around the language of a law that says you have to make these things available to the public. They don't use the word reasonable in the statute, in the CFR, Code of Federal Regulation. They don't use the word reasonable. But in the law, everything is a reasonable standard.
Yeah.
And so, negligence, what would a reasonable person do in this case,
Right.
that sort of thing. And so I would like to have the Attorney General opine on that, if these things are actually available or not.
Interesting.
And so, if they say, yeah, that's available, you just have to pay a couple $100,000 if you want one single case that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, then they've answered the question. Now we'd have to approach it a different way. So, and again, what the part that bugs me the most is other states have the ability to do this. Now,
So other states are doing it already.
Other states can do searching. The lawyers can do searching. I mean, it's usually a subscription you can buy and pay for, which I have no problem with.
Yeah.
It puts it in the reasonable mode. But
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But it's getting back to the callers thing. I mean, there are plenty of them out there. You can find them. Now,
Yeah.
I know what she's talking about. Before the internet, I used to go to Vanderbilt Law Library. And and all that's available to the public.
Right.
They let you in. You have a copy machine. You got to pay 25 cents a page or whatever it was to make copies of stuff. But it's a much cumbersome way to search because it's all physical and it's all paper books. But it's all there.
Well, I've been in a few law offices, as you might imagine, and most of them that I've been in have at least some of a law library.
I mean, I've heard you're always in trouble. So
Books, lots of books.
Yep.
The internet and the research this way has almost made that obsolete, hasn't it?
It has. It exactly has. And you can get there faster, quicker, with these services. That's exactly what they do. My law office used to be, I had these huge bookshelves. I had like 7 of them.
Yeah.
Because I once, at an estate sale, there was a judge's estate sale, and I bought all of these reporters.
Yeah.
And they look really cool.
Oh, yeah.
They look really cool. They lined my office.
Yeah.
Very scholarly.
Very scholarly. I would love to look that smart.
And when I decided to do estate planning, I decided I was going to change my approach, and I was going to make my law office look like somebody's living room. And when you come to talk to me, I'm not in an intimidating 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
I'm actually a real guy, and you can sit and talk to me about anything.
Yeah.
And that was the look I was going for. So I took those things, I gave them all to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Right here in Lawrenceburg, I think.
Yeah.
I took them over and gave it to them. Now, I kept a handful of them that I keep on a bookshelf in my home office just because it looks nice. And I have a bookshelf that I needed to put something on it.
The closest I've gotten to that, and I did this on purpose, was my big, huge, thick library dictionaries.
Yep.
I have a few of those at a dictionary stand in my office, and that's about as close as I've gotten.
But what was cool was the very first case in Tennessee. I had the very first reporter that went back to 1700 something.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to look at some of that stuff. But, it's just nostalgia.
Yeah.
But that's online. If I wanted to see that case, it's online.
Well, during your answer to some of that, you answered a question that went through my mind early when we first started here, and you kind of answered it in a way, but I was going to come back to it because I find it interesting. You are licensed to practice law. In the state of Tennessee. You're a lawyer, as many other lawyer friends that I have, but you're focusing in one area.
Correct.
And so, but that doesn't mean you couldn't practice other areas.
Oh no, and I have practiced other areas.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is how do you determine, or how do our attorney friends determine areas to focus on? How does that end up happening?
I can only speak for myself, but I imagine it's similar to other people.
Yeah.
Some people grow up and go through law school, and their families are attorneys, maybe.
Yeah.
And they work, or they come out of law school and they work in a law firm. And they get a lot of this exposure.
Yeah.
And that may be helpful to them. No such thing in my family. I always had an interest in law, and I used to piddle around. Like I said, I'd go to the law library. Nothing structured, but sort of self-educated, but just a little bit here, a little bit there. So when I was in law school, the first exposure I got was I did it between my 3rd and 4th year. I did a 100-hour internship with the public defender.
Yes.
You can do that and get, I think I get 1 credit hour for doing it.
Yeah.
And I did it with a public defender right here in the 22nd district.
Okay.
And so it was, and before that, I would have said I don't want to go into criminal law.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd see what it was like. You know what I mean? So, and I talked to the DA's office, and they weren't interested in bringing on an intern. So I talked to the public defender, and they said they would.
Okay.
So you can sort of connect the dots there. You know, one outfit's probably underpaid, understaffed,
Yeah.
with limited budget.
Yeah.
One is unlimited. So I went, and I actually sat in on several jury trials and stuff. So anyway, I sort of got interested in that. So when I came out, I kind of started doing that kind of work right off the bat. Now, as I was doing that, I poked around to do a little civil law, like, you know, lawsuits, suing for money. You know what I mean? That sort of
Yes.
thing. And I dabbled with that, but I found out I didn't enjoy it. I mean, you know, when you're doing something, you just don't like doing it, you know it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of quit doing that. Now, early in my career, my law career, because I was an engineer for 20 years, well, still am, but I practiced engineering for 20 years. I'm very technical, right?
Yeah.
And you need it. So what I did after the 1 year after I got my law license, I studied and took the bar exam, the bar for patent bar, to be a patent attorney.
Okay. Interesting.
Because you have to have a technical background to do that.
Okay.
And so I did that, and I did some patent work, and that was pretty cool, but it just wasn't enough of it. People, you know, just idea guys here and there, maybe do a dozen type patents in a year, which is not many. Then somewhere along the line on that, they changed a lot of the malpractice insurance rules. It got real expensive, and I didn't do much of it anyway. I couldn't justify doing it, so I kind of quit doing it. I'm still on the rolls. I'm still an active and in good standing patent attorney. I just turned the work down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm allowed to turn down anything I want. I don't have to take any cases. You know. So, but then I did the criminal defense work for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I mean, I was a trial attorney. I did a lot of jury trials. When nowadays attorneys, it's not hard to find an attorney who's been practicing for 10 years, never been in a trial.
That's interesting.
You know, a lot of the majority of cases get settled. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, I did a lot of that work, and I was actually one of the elect few of Tennessee that was death penalty qualified.
Yeah.
Actually did 2 death penalty cases. But I kind of, you know, that all changed back around, well, you know, I want to say 2012, 2010. Around, I started feeling like I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
And so I looked around, and when I first run across estate planning, because, you know, you have estate planning in law school, but not much, just a touch of it. And I thought, boy, that sounds like it would bore an idiot. That's quite a term my dad used to use. And but I started looking into it. And to my surprise, I thought it was pretty stimulating. You know, I liked it. So I sort of gravitated toward it. I even said on this show, and I say in some seminars sometime, I really felt a calling.
Yeah.
You know, like a divine inspiration. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But once I sort of got looking into estate planning and started looking into it, I couldn't put it down. I said, you know what? I'm just going to stop taking any criminal cases. The ones that I still have, I'm going to finish up.
Right.
I'm just going to go all in on this. And I couldn't. It's almost like I couldn't help myself. I had to go that way.
Yeah.
And I did, and I loved every minute of it. I still do. I just enjoy it. But I think to answer your question, I think people gravitate. Now I know a lot of attorneys that do stuff that they absolutely hate, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know. But if you like doing something, you know, you gravitate toward it.
Sure.
But you know, but then again, how do you know what you like without dipping your toe in the water of all these different things?
Yeah.
You know, like some people were immigration attorneys. You know, that doesn't, to me, that doesn't. I don't know much about it. I have a very, very superficial understanding of it, but it doesn't ring my bell, kind of thing. You know?
But now,
it could.
I guess that leads to another question. Are there specific designations that you kind of can earn or get special training for, like you just mentioned, an immigration attorney, or does he just gravitate and study that on his own, and he says that's where I'm going to practice?
Yeah, you can. If you move into a field that you don't know anything about, it's best to mentor or get a co-counsel that'll work with you.
Yeah.
You can study. You know, we have a lot of continuing legal education and stuff. I think you guys have to do that too.
Yeah.
You know, and you can get stuff in your field. You know, because you have there's a requirement that you be competent in an area.
Yeah.
So to become competent, there's a lot of ways you can do that. So most people, you know, if they want to do something to get out of law school, if they can get hired by a law firm that does what they like to do, they're sort of like a second chair kind of attorney, and they just kind of shadow somebody and kind of learn the trade, almost like an apprenticeship in a way. You can't just come out. It's hard to come out and just go into it, the deep end of the pool. But
I imagine that you guys have law seminars too on different areas and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
all the time. Interesting.
In estate planning, you know when. You know, I always was one to just jump in the deep end of the pool. You know, I got out of law school it was less than 3 months. I had my first jury trial. And I was very nervous, but after you get indoctrinated, right? After you break the ice the one time, then you realize, okay, this wasn't as hard as I made it. My mind made it out to be. Okay, did I make mistakes, or were there some objections I should have made that we got by? Yeah. A couple. But again, it was once I did that, then I just started down that path. So I just people just gravitate. But I'll tell you what, attorneys are in the top couple of fields that have like the highest suicide rate, the highest drug or alcohol abuse rate.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah. I mean,
interesting.
Fortunately, I don't.
Well, it can be a high pressure career.
I mean, but fortunately, I don't feel any of that. And but we have a lot of CLE about that because if you're feeling that way, there's all kind of help, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it it's stress. There's some stress there, but I think a lot of it, people just don't like what they do.
Yeah.
If you don't like what you do, get out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I changed careers. I was an engineer and changed to be an attorney. So
I'll try to tell you a quick funny story of someone you probably know, and he wouldn't mind me telling this at all. Judge Mike Harris. You know Judge Mike Harris.
I know Mike before he was judge. Yeah, I know him.
You know, he was a radio man here on this station.
That man has got a real radio voice.
He does. And a good friend of mine. I see him on a regular basis, and he's been here as a guest, but also he was a part of the station years ago, and of course, he decided to go to law school.
Yep.
And his sidekick, Elrod, who was also here, when he told Elrod he was going to law school to become a lawyer, and he said, "But you're a DJ, you're." He said, "That's like," this is Elrod speaking. He said, "That's like going from driving the garbage truck to riding on the back."
I mean, I guess he means that's like a reverse move, right?
So I've never forgotten that. So that's pretty funny.
No, I do know Mike, and I see him every now and then. I see him a lot more before he ran for the judgeship. He was with the public defender's office, and the public defender's office is right over there, a few doors down from mine on the square of Pulaski. Yeah. I would see him from time to time. I see him in court a lot.
Yeah.
Mike was always a good guy. He's very helpful. And there's a story I'll tell you about Mike, but I'm not going to tell it on air out of my respect for him. But no, I won't tell you. But you know what? But to be honest, since I've been to estate planning, I don't go to court much anymore.
Well, yeah.
I had my fill of that, and I've not been in Mike's court since he's been judge. I'm sure Mike. When he was running for that, I remember thinking he'd do a great job. Yeah. I can't even remember who else was running, but I remember of the people picking. I thought, I hope he gets it because I think he would do a great job because he's a level-headed guy. He's fair.
Yeah.
And I think, coming from the public defender's office, he can be. I'm not going to say he's going to be friendly to defendants at all, but he's going to have a perspective that other judges don't have.
Yeah.
And a lot of DAs get appointed judge.
Yeah.
And they don't have that perspective. They're sort of sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying they all do, but I'm saying I think that's a helpful experience that Mike has because that really puts him in a position to be even more fair and impartial. Yeah. And
he's not a bad bass player either.
When I used to go to his office, when I go to his office time or two, he had 3 or 4 guitars on stands up there. And I never heard him play, but when we did a play over in Pulaski, we did 1776.
Oh,
we did it in the courthouse the first time we did it.
Yeah.
We had an intro to the, at most places we have an intro. We did a voiceover for it. And I asked him to do it because his voice, and he did that for us.
He's been asked to do that kind of thing a lot.
Yeah. So
absolutely. Well, back to your world. You, of course, zeroed in on estate planning. Estate planning, and that led into a lot of direction regarding people, the end of their journey in life, and things that happen, and led into working with the TennCare laws and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, estate planning encompasses a fair amount. It's not, it's not just writing wills. Although some estate planners, that's pretty much all they do. But, that's a choice. I know a lot of what I mentioned earlier that there's no shortage of estate planners, but there is a shortage of ones that do certain things in estate planning.
Sure.
And people will write wills, no problem with that. People will do probate.
Right.
That's kind of estate planning. There's fewer then that actually draft the trust and do the trust plans like we do, which I think is the better estate planning in the first place. So I'd be happy if they never do another will. I mean, they're not difficult to do, but I'm just saying I think people really benefit from doing trust plans. That's why I kind of, you always hear me talk about the disadvantages of a will and the disadvantages of probate and the advantages of a trust and the advantages of not going through probate. So I think it's a better way. But then if you go to the other thing we get into, which is this crisis planning and TennCare planning, and the asset protection trust that we do, there's counties around. Nobody does what I do that I know of, to the extent that we do it.
Yeah.
At least that's what people tell me when they find me and hire me and tell me they've been looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I never really sat down and looked to see who does or doesn't do it.
Right,
so,
right.
There may be, so I'm not saying that as an absolute, but they're harder to find, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is to be proficient in TennCare law is going to take a lot of your hours. Okay, and it's self-taught, man. There is no course you go that I ever found. I've looked. I have looked and looked and looked, couldn't find it. To learn how the TennCare system works.
Yeah.
It is a quagmire of rules, regulations, obligations, duties, deadlines. It's a difficult thing. I think that's why there's not so many people doing it.
Yeah.
Of course, that kind of stuff, I don't know, what's the old phrase? I kind of eat that for breakfast, so to speak. If it's difficult, bring it on.
Yeah.
If it's easy and boring, then I'm going to pass.
That reminds me of a friend of ours that years ago we went on vacation together with another couple, and he was very technically minded, and he took a book with him to read, but it wasn't just any book. It was a technical book about this thick, and they did that for enjoyment.
Yep. When I had my first law office was here on the square in Lawrenceburg, and it was above the Christian bookstore. Remember when that used to be here on the corner?
Yeah.
And I rented from another attorney, Bill Elledge. He's still here in Lawrenceburg. And often, at least once or twice a week, I would walk over to the Square 40 restaurant and eat lunch.
Yeah.
And I would always take one of my law books. And as I was eating there, I would, be reading up on search and seizure or, whatever. And there was a gal that was there. She was there almost every time I was there. She worked there every day. And, she made a comment one time, or on several occasions. She come up to me. The first time she made a comment, she said, "Do you ever read like a novel or a fiction book or something?" And I kind of said, "No, not really. That stuff doesn't float my boat very much. This is what I'm interested in. I've got a case and I need to find out about something, and so I'm reading this book to try to find out about it."
Yeah.
Because, when I was a trial attorney, I don't say this. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was very successful at it, and I attribute that success to being familiar with the rules and the procedure. I think attorneys get lazy once they get into practice, and they don't stay up on that or don't. But if you know the rules very, very well, the rules of evidence. Yeah. There's a lot of rules of evidence. What's allowed in, what's not allowed in.
Yeah.
You can almost literally keep your opponent from getting his evidence in if you understand the rules. And so you can be successful because they can't prove their case because they have to bring it in a certain way, if they can bring it in at all.
Right.
And if they bring it in, you don't object to it, it gets brought in.
Right.
The judge isn't going to say, well, that's not, you should have objected to that. Now, if it's something really egregious, the judge would step in. But I'm just saying, the judge is not there to try the case for you. If you object, he'll rule on the objection. In other words, somebody tries to bring in something that inadmissible evidence.
Right.
And I say objection, that's inadmissible. I have to argue to the court why.
Yes.
And I explain that's inadmissible because of this.
Right.
It's hearsay. Okay. Something like that. And here's why it's hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement. The person is saying what they heard, and there's no way to cross-examine the person that actually said it. So this person can't offer it as substantive evidence because it's hearsay. It's just what they heard the other person say.
Interesting.
And so, and if it is, the judge will say, "That's right. I'll sustain the objection because that is inadmissible." So, you can't ask him that question, or you can't answer that question, or it'll rule for the other side. No, and say, I'm going to overrule the objection. I think it's acceptable evidence, or whatever. But if you don't bring it up, it doesn't get argued. And I've seen, I've had new attorneys that have asked my opinion on stuff and some help, and I've watched them in hearings and stuff. And the worst thing for an attorney to do is watch another attorney in a trial because you're sitting there, your face is scrunching up. It's like, "Ooh, object." Yeah, I'm sitting there saying under my breath, "Object, object, object." I want to stand up and say, "Object to that." But, you can't. And or, when you watch TV, I just have to concede to the fact that it's not even close to reality, and I'm not going to go all bent out of shape about what comes in and what doesn't come in because on TV it's a whole new. It's not like that.
It's not like that on TV. It's probably not even like those judge shows that they have. Not much anyway.
No, maybe not much, but yeah. But I forget how we got into that. Where we were going.
Well, we're just talking about how you zeroed in on the
Right,
practice of law in your area, and it's interesting to me because I mean, you have lawyers even in a small town like Lawrenceburg that are focused and known for, you know, maybe divorce law,
sure,
or real estate law or something
That's
like
right.
that.
And I just take the assumption if somebody does mostly what's called family law, which is mostly divorce or the custody or guardianship, stuff like that.
Right.
If they focus on family law, I mean, I just assume they very much enjoy doing that, and that's why they do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
there's a lot of money to be made.
Well, there's that. But if making the money makes you happier than the not being happy doing the work, then that's a win situation for you.
Right, exactly.
I'm in a fortunate position. I feel myself very blessed because not only, I mean, I love what I do. I mean, I don't say that like, you know, you hear these big law firm attorneys that say, you know, if you hire us, we will fight for you. You know, it's like, really, does anybody really swallow that completely? I mean, sure. I mean, you're a hired gun. I get that part, you know. But it's not like you're going to live, breathe, and sleep my case, right? Yeah. But I really do love what I do. I just enjoy it, and because you know I'm beyond retirement age already, and I should be. You know, but I love doing it. It fills a niche. And first of all, I love the subject matter. Second of all, I love the fact that there's a niche for this, and people are just thirsty for this information. That's how these seminars got born and how the radio stations came about. I'm trying to get this information out so that you know that you have options to do it. And I have a very cool relationship with my clients, something I never had in any other area of law. I mean, I get thank you notes from people. I get these little old ladies that bring me cookies all the time, or bake things and bring it just because we did something for them, like, you know, like maybe somebody got into care and we got everything taken care of for them or something like that. You know, I never had that kind of relationship with clients before.
Well, there's a great comfort level in getting this kind of stuff done for yourself, which you can help make happen. And I think that's probably one of the key things here is bringing about to an individual or their families some resolve and some certainty about what's going to take place.
And it's kind of ongoing. I mean, I never did charge by the hour, and I don't much do it now. But I'll have people call me that I've represented in some estate plan, and they'll call me. It's 2 years later, 3 years later, and they'll say, you know, my daughter, I want to deed a couple acres of my farm to my daughter. She wants to build on it. Can't borrow money until she owns it, so I want to give it to her now. You know, I put out, you know, we did a estate plan. You put the property into my trust. You know, can we do that? And I'll say, yeah, you can do it. And here's what your dad to do. And we talk about it. At the end of the conversation, most of them will say something. Thanks, Dan. That solved the problem. How much to owe you? And and 100% of the time I say, don't worry about it. It was a 20-minute phone call. You know, now I could send a bill for 20 minutes for 0.3 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't. I mean, first of all, I feel morally objective to doing that. You know, I'm opposed to that.
Yeah.
Third of all, second, from a logistical standpoint, I haven't got the time to fill out a bill for 20 minutes and send it in. It'd take me 20 minutes to do that. It's just, third, I just feel like it's just the right thing to do. I mean, what does it cost me to help somebody like that? Nothing. I'm more than happy to do it. There are clients of mine, they're trust clients. They're going to ask questions. They're going to want to make a change to it. You know, now sometimes when they want an amendment, we do charge something for that. But because they're trusts that I wrote and they want to change something, it's like a seriously reduced cost. It's just de minimis to cover very little that we have to do to do it. You know, and I feel good about that. I like doing that.
Sure.
Because sometimes, you know, I think one time the people that handle my finances, my accountant people, brought that to my attention. I said, no, this is this is the way I want to do it. You know. Now, let me give you an example, since we're off on this and we're getting close to being done anyway. You know, when we do a trust plan, you know, I'll have a meeting with folks. It's like a 2-hour meeting. We call it a vision meeting. And we do a deep dive into the family dynamics and solve the problems you want to solve. Then we set off a signing date, which is about 3 or 4 weeks ahead. So because I draft all these things myself, which is something I really enjoy doing. Every Wednesday, they lock me in my office, and the girls run interference on phone calls and walk-ins. And they just leave me in my office to be in the zone, and I draft. I sit there, I draft. I wear jeans. It's like no client Wednesday to me. Yeah. And I'm just in my zone, and I draft the documents because I love doing that. And I know what they want now. I've had this 2-hour meeting with them. I've got my notes, and I'm putting in the personal information that they want, the problem they're trying to solve. So we end up with a signing a few weeks later where we have all these documents prepared. Now it's time to put them into effect and sign them, have them witnessed, have them notarized, all the stuff that needs to be done.
Right.
And when I do that signing, it takes about an hour, sometimes a little more. And I go through each and every one of these documents, and there's like almost a dozen different documents. And I talk about them for 5-10 minutes each, a document, and then we sign it. I've had people that give you advice on how to run your practice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've had several say, you are dropping the ball here. You're spending all this time. You had like 5 signings this week, and you spent an hour and 10 minutes on each of them. Just explain to these people. So you can get one of your staff to do that. And you know what? I refuse to do that, and here's why. I get such a connection with people, and I've got such feedback from people that says, people that go to my Google thing and give a review or something like that.
Right.
You know, they say, you know what? We sat down, and this attorney spent all this time, explained everything in no uncertain terms to us. We left there, we knew exactly what was going on because he explained it. We had questions, he answered them. And I said, you know what, I am never not going to do the signing. Yes, I could have Alex do it. She knows enough to do it. I could have her do it. But I don't want to lose that personal touch. I mean, I really like doing it because I connect with folks. And, you know, it's amazing because, you know, when you're connecting with somebody, when you're talking about, we're going through the signing, you talk to them about other stuff too, like you know, life plan, life things and stuff. And it seems like you have an interest with everybody on some level.
Absolutely.
You know, so I would never give that up. I know it would be more efficient, you know, maybe make more money if my time was spent somewhere else, but I just don't.
You know what strikes me at the back of this, even though you and I do different things, at the back of both of our business, we're dealing with people and their things. And there's the connection that you make with people is, to me, important, and I can tell from you that it's very, very important. It's more than just signing some papers.
You know, there's the business world.
Yeah.
And I know you'll understand this because we have off-mic discussions about this, and you're a very scriptural person. You have strong a deity.
Try to be.
And at the end of the day, there's certain things that I do, and even sometimes my staff disagrees, but at the end of the day, there's certain things I do, and my sole reasoning is I just feel like that was the right thing to do.
The right thing to do, yeah.
You know, did it cost me money to do it? Yes. I don't care. It was the right. I just felt like that was what I needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll never go wrong with that gut feeling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't see where you could.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if you really think something should be done, but you don't because the person can't afford to pay you for it.
Right.
I mean, I've done pro bono work.
Yeah.
I'll give an example because we're just about out of time. Just be quick.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman come in and say, what I don't do is pro bono work for people that come in and ask me to do it pro bono.
Yeah.
Okay. I choose the right to decide which case I'm going to do pro bono.
You decide how that happens.
But I had a fella come in, and he was kind of beside himself. His wife had passed away.
Yeah.
And he had a deed, and the children were named on the deed. Anyway, the children went and got another deed made, and it was defective. Okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of pushed this guy out, and I looked at it and said, "This is not right. You are the spouse, and you have part of this because she passed away without a will. So you know the laws of intestate succession. You have this." And he was a nice guy, and he was just I could tell by looking at him he probably wasn't going to do anything about it. And I got talking about it, and he said, "Well, what would you charge?" And I started to tell him basically what the cost was. I could just see in his face that if he was probably I don't know what came over me. I just said, "You know what? I'll if you'll hire me." Because I still have to be hired. I said, I'll do this pro bono at no cost to you.
Yeah.
And I remember my staff was like, you know, okay, what's Mr. Stan doing?
Yeah, yeah.
and I did. And it was, I mean, I had to do at least one court appearance. I had to talk to the other attorney with the deed. And so,
right.
So I spent, I don't know, maybe 6-7 hours total on it.
Yeah.
You know, I get $350 an hour if I charge it by the hour.
Yeah.
I could probably charge more than that, but that's what last time I charged by the hour, that's what I did. So I could have charged that, but when I was all said and done, we got it fixed. And, you know, the other side hired an attorney that got paid.
Yeah.
And anyway, we got it all fixed. The person had what he had coming to him for that property. And it actually mended a few family fences, too, because it was kind of vindictive when it first stared.
Yeah.
It was all said and done with. Everybody seemed to have a better understanding of where everybody's position was. And
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you know, could I have charged maybe a couple $1,000s for that? Yes. But I just felt at the time, and to this day, now that it's all done, it was just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
For the circumstances fit exactly what I decided to do.
Sure.
And I'm the one that has to live with it, and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know, I just do. So that's what, you know, never lose sight of that measuring stick that's inside of you that makes you feel good.
I agree with that.
Could I have made more money? But I'd rather feel good and have extra money in my pocket because I'm not taking that with me anyway.
That's right. That's right.
The only thing I need money for is to go to Home Depot every week to get the stuff I need on what I'm working on.
You want to work
I'll
on.
be happy as a clam if I got enough to go to Home Depot every weekend.
That's right.
Well, listen, we're getting close, so I can't believe we spent the hour talking about that, but it was fun. I appreciate you
a good hour.
probing into that because it's a lot of people might wonder who I am and stuff like that. Maybe that helps a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
I hope so. I hope so. Estate plan Stan Pierchoski, everybody with Pierchoski Estate Law in Pulaski, Tennessee. Now, you're on the square in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Right.
Right next to the Star Theater.
Right there in the corner.
And for a lot of people know where the Outlook is there over there.
Right.
Big traffic. So you're right there next door, pretty close. And, of course, the phone number, 931-363-7222. And the website, estateplanstan.com. Very good. And don't forget the seminar coming up.
The seminar coming up January the 25th after the holidays when things calm down. And we're going to have it right here at WLX radio station. It's a free educational seminar. Now, I focus on the word educational. You may focus on the word free. But I'm glad to do it. We talk about, it's called Wills, Trust in the Nursing Home. And that's what we talk about. If you want to come, bring your questions. If you have any during the presentation, ask them. I'll answer them all. So give us a call at that number, 931-363-7222. Talk to the gals and just say, I want to come to the seminar. The RSVP is real informal. It's just how many are coming. Yes. No, you'll get a phone call the day before as a reminder. But other than that,
we haven't mentioned it a lot lately. But you also can set up like just a few minute phone call with you.
Sure, we do. We'll call a 15-minute phone call, which is never 15 minutes. But you can call and set it up. The girls will set it for a time.
Yeah.
And then I'll call you back as close to that time as I can, depending on what's going on. But I will have time to review what your question was, and so I'm ready. And that time is dedicated to that question. That's a great way to ask questions.
You may have you may want to just find out if this is right for you, and you have a few questions and your specific need, and that's a good way to do it. So call his office.
Yeah, and next time I see you, we'll be even closer to Christmas.
Be even closer. That's right. Till next Friday, my friend.
Okay. See you, Jeff.
Thank
Bye.
you, Stan.
Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.
She's seeking the death penalty in Texas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.